Having rightly ended the nefarious minions in Hell's Day, except for the charmed Edwina, the group decide to gather what wealth they can before departing. On the way to the ritual site, they spot a half-submerged giant skull, which of course they have to explore. While they don't find anything of interest inside the skull, they do spot a giant white tadpole, which turns out to be a giant white leech. They decide it's time to kill this lurking menace, and so launch an attack. Fortune smiles on them, and they quickly slay the pale bloodsucker before it can do much harm to anyone. Edwina informs them that the leech will be the perfect sacrifice for the demon that will be summoned soon. It is not long before they reach Frogomance. Alas, they are not the first to reach this place, as they spot the Overlord's knight and several soldiers already exploring the area. Since Strage is a wanted frog, they put him on the back of Jägermeister and cover him in moss in an attempt to hide him from the night. They decide to sneak into Frogomance through the back way to beat the guards to the objective. Creeping through the dark caverns below Frogomance goes well, other than a few small leeches, until they discover the waste disposal system, consisting of several large crocodiles. Strage saves the day by casting spider climb and skittering up the wall through the hole. Sadly, not all of the band makes it up the rope. Edwina, Dee and Scribbles plunge into the cold, dark, crocodile-infested waters below. Fortunately, Edwina blasts the crocodiles with magic, and everyone manages to escape, except Edwina. Our merry band of adventurers decide that Edwina has outlived her usefulness and leaves her behind to become crocodile snacks. What horrors await in Frogomance? Will Strage's Dudanus finally be confirmed? Will our band gather more animal friends? Let's find out now on Pawns and Patrons.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Pawns and Patrons.
We're alive!
It's episode 11, which I am tentatively titling The Frog Within.
Don't you mean the
As
Froge
in-
Within?
I do mean The Frog Within. I beg your pardon.
Yeah.
Yes, representing the Froge Duday within Frogomance. What a great summary. These are so delightful every time. So, yes.
It bumps me up.
Layla Ellis, Chris Ellis, thank you guys. You're keeping us on track. You're keeping the audience on track. And it sounds so beautiful and epic when
I know.
Invaluable.
I would have been like, who am I? What was going on? And then I'm like, oh yeah, Edwina and the crocodiles. Yes, that was a thing.
The terrifying old witch woman got devoured by all of our crocodiles. We made it out alive, but now we don't have a problem.
Yeah, I remember feeling relieved. That was
a new and more interesting problem of now we're stuck inside of this place. What do we do?
Without Edwina to help us.
Yeah, right.
She was pretty helpful until she was going to turn on us and kill us all within one shot. So, yeah.
You had another day before that happened, though. Come on.
But we didn't know that.
I think you knew that there was a 3-day window where you had her under mind control.
Window.
Yeah.
You can always fail more saves. You never know.
It
just seems pretty powerful based on what we just saw. So,
yeah. We Jir in my chat is saying that Jen and Rachel's cameras are swapped.
No. See, and that's a common mistake, and I get why people would think that, but I actually have just assumed the life of Genevieve, and yeah, I'm a producer now at a game studio, and I speak French.
And I'm
a host. You have to go back.
I'm a host.
Could you repeat all of that in French, please, new Jen?
Is it? No.
I'm the bestest host.
Je suis une productrice pour un studio au Québec.
Yeah.
Sounds right to me.
Just sounds like French.
Maybe I'll swap with Steven next time.
Yeah. Yes, and then Jen can lead the day. and I can sing a song.
Yes.
Oh, that was Doge Pong. Sorry, Dodge Pong. Hello, Dodge Pong. Thank you. It was not Jir. Jir asked a question about whether Edwina's suffering was finally over. Good question. I wonder canonically, I feel like the ends that are available to wizards in the Pawns and Patrons universe are more likely to be bad than good. Like, we may not have seen the end of Edwina, honestly. Awesome.
Yeah, actually, there were all those characters that died in the first. Yeah, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a lot of unfortunate resurrection going around.
Yeah.
Catching.
So let's see here. Shall we jump right into it, friends?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we should. There's two things that we should go over. One is what's the things that make DCC unique, and two is three things that we should go over. One is what makes DCC unique. Two, a little bit of patch notes from your friendly game developer. And three is just like a quick high-level summary of how the hell we got here and what shenanigans have caused us to reach this. And Jen has a shout out that we definitely all want to hear as well. Why don't we do them in that order? First, let's remind ourselves what makes DCC unique. So a whole collection of the 12 characters that we have playing right now are, or is it 11? I think it's 11 characters with the party at the moment. A whole collection of these are 0 level peons or pawns. Yeah, what peasants. Peasants is the word that I was thinking of, but all of these other words are also appropriate. Yeah, and they are only defined by their role in the feudal society that they live in, as in chicken butcher or jester or etc. And after surviving one adventure, they will ascend to become level 1 and choose a class to gain levels in. As a reminder, you earn about 2 XP, like 1 to 4 experience points for surviving each threatening situation or for slaying any serious notable threat. So if there's like basically any kind of boss type creature, if you kill it, will receive good XP for that as well. And then patch notes here. Previously on Pawns and Patrons, you've earned 1 XP for spending or taxing 100 gold. We are increasing the XP ratio by a factor of 10. From here on, you will earn 1 XP for spending or taxing 10 gold pieces, which you earn from adventuring. So, should empower some of our characters to advance a little more quickly than before.
I don't know who you could be talking about. I don't know anyone who squirreled money away anywhere for any reason.
For me, it changes nothing. I never got any gold.
We'll have the opportunity to squirrel away further money in the future. The Pawns and Patrons is being run with a game system called Dungeon Crawl Classics, which is an old school retro clone, a modern game attempting to recreate the feeling of old school 1970s Dungeons and Dragons. And it uses a collection of weirdly sided dice, including like a D16 and a D24 and a D5 and a D7. So we might call for some weird rolls. All of you should remember that you can burn your luck stat in order to add +1 to any of your rolls. And you can burn as much luck as you want, add as much to your rolls as you want. A couple of unique things. We've got some wizards that cast spells that have a really variable results. We've got a couple thieves in the party, I think, who have skills that they can roll. Not everybody has skills. And thieves gain, I think it's like 1d3 luck every time, or plus 1d3 to their rolls every time they burn 1 point of luck. We've got a couple fighters in the party who can execute mighty deeds of arms, which is you just decree that there's some cool, narratively relevant fighting maneuver that you want to execute, and we'll negotiate what the results of that will be. And if you roll some good dice, then you succeed at, like, pushing the guy onto a spike in a pit, or swinging across a chandelier, or disarming your opponent. Anything you can think of, basically. We don't have any clerics with us, so nobody's going to be summoning any gods from the heavens.
For today. We do have one at home, though.
Yeah. So maybe in a future episode, we might see some of that. Who else? I think that's about it for now. So, with that in mind, that's what makes DCC unique, and also the patch notes. So, can someone give me just like a elevator pitch summary of how on earth we ended up inside of a place called Frogomance? What is this? Why are we here, and what are we doing?
I think our Froge friend should explain.
Oh no, putting me on the spot. Neal is gonna talk. He's doing such a good job saying words.
Yeah.
I said half a syllable before I realized I was about to say the entirely wrong thing. I have notes, but
I can give a brief reminder summary.
Let me try. Okay.
All right.
Neal. All right. We are looking for the Eldritch Scroll of Zorthazan, owned by
Zokarzan.
Zokarzan. That's wrong.
Imagine if we came back with the wrong one. It's like it was so close to theirs.
Squinting at the typing.
We got it, patron. And then they're like, that's a completely different, useless scroll. We must go back.
And you're doing this at the behest of the prophet of Teotihuacan.
Yes.
Whose name is what?
I have no idea who's Teotihuacan.
It's me. It's Petrov.
Petrov, the prophet of Teotihuacan, has sent you to recover the Eldritch Scroll.
My notes
Neal,
are insufficient. Okay, there's this person named Augusta. I think she's a wizard who has the scroll.
Augusta Ribe.
Oh, not Ruby. Oh man. Okay, Ruby. Gotcha.
Spelled ribbit.
Let's see. Of Mordland, we met Thalowimple, an old servant of Navarest. Yes, excellent. And Edwina, the frog from the Froge from the recap we just heard, who was trying to perform a dark ritual. One of Jen's characters is supposedly a Froge of some, old bloodline that has been lost and forgotten about. And some people were like, whoa, this can't do. We have our own plans. We can't let this, prince that should have been or prince that will be arrive out of nowhere and take over. So they tried to murder us and sacrifice us to summon a demon. And that's obvious why they would be summoning a demon. I don't need to recap their motivations behind that. We met Lady Halbalot while we were looking for Augusta, and Phyllis, the Froge lady, who gave me a nice cup. It was very wonderful. And Regina, the Frog Maiden.
We met.
Wow.
Are you just reading down your list of NPCs that you've encountered?
I think my notes have stopped being useful at this point. Yes.
So I think it might be worth mentioning if you're just watching for the first time and you're like, what the heck is Froge? It's a family name. It happens to apply to a family of frog people, but their last name, the family surname, is Froge.
It's actually their surname is Dudet.
That's true.
Right. Sorry.
Froge is Froge's first name.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, what I said is completely wrong. The last name is Dudet.
Yeah.
But Froge is a nice, proper way of referring to people of this family.
Yes.
Indeed.
Because one of them was named Froge, the first of them that we encountered. Basically, we don't know at all. I'm still saying words.
There was a Froge named Bubugbabills.
Patron. Each of our players here control some collection of pawns who are low-level adventurers, and also a high-level political actor called a patron. Jen's patron, Petrov, the prophet of Teotihuacan, was tipped off that the agents of the Overlord were pursuing the Eldritch Scroll of Zokarzan, a powerful magical artifact that a wizard of a rival kingdom had absconded with. Petrov, the prophet of Teotihuacan, is sort of a doomsday prepper who holds a collection of warrens underneath the city grate, and wants to secure this scroll for their magical prowess. They have sent the pawns available to us off to go acquire the Eldritch Scroll of Zokarzan from the neighboring kingdom of Mordland, which is the Frog Kingdom. We have discovered along the way that Froge Dudet, one of Jen's pawns.
No, Strej Dudet.
Strej Dudet, sorry. Strej Dudet.
The cousin of Froge Dudet.
A cousin of the Froge Dudet. May he rest in peace. Strej Dudet is perhaps one of the last living scions of an ancient noble house in the kingdom of Mordland. And we even found Strej's ancestral home, the Grand Hall Dudet. The current groundskeeper of the hall seemed up to no good and perhaps wanted to drain Strej's blood from his body and inject it into his own veins so that he would truly become a Dudet and the true owner of the house. The pawns managed to cause all sorts of shenaniganery, including mind controlling a moss elk from the swamp, which is now trundling around behind our party, looking quite drunk. And escaped from the threatening Hall Dudet with a number of valuables, and mind controlled one of the old wizards who had come to visit and had her lead them to Frogomance, which is where the party believes the Eldritch Scroll of Zokarzan may ultimately be located. The party crawled in through the damp caverns beneath the school of Frogomance, and in clambering up into the school proper, managed to lose their wizard companion to the snapping, slavering jaws of a collection of crocodiles down below.
So sad. I'm very heartbroken about losing her.
And so the lights draw up on our party here in an austere-looking chamber that smells of rotted meat, with meat hooks and chains hanging from the ceiling over a long and deep pit that leads down into the refuse disposal system below, aka a whole bunch of crocodiles who are always hungry. Before we proceed, Jen wanted to call everybody's attention to something. Go ahead.
Just one thing. So this week I've been raising money for Gamers Outreach, which is a great charity that pulls money together to bring video games to children in hospitals. So I think it is a worthy cause. So we're going to be sharing that link if you want to donate throughout the show for it. Right now we are at $95 out of the goal of $150. Let's reach the goal. That's it. That's all I gotta say.
Awesome. Thank you, Jen. So the lights come up, and in the room around there are 12 of you in this room, though one of you is actually incredibly small. We'll get to that in a moment. The lights come up, and you can all see what's going on here. There's a large pit in the center of this room, about 20 feet across. There's like chains hanging from the ceiling that are hooked over like a bar on top, so that there's like a winch collection on the wall that you can use to wind chains up and lower chains down. One of the meat hooks has like an old rotted slab of meat hanging from it. Super gross.
Yeah.
There's something that you notice now that you've gotten your bearings and caught your breath, which is that down in the lower right-hand corner, the southeastern corner of this room, there is a dead body of a beefily built human woman. Her hands are rough and calloused, and she has very short cropped hair.
Whoa, that's a picture of Red Ray. What are you doing?
It is not Red Ray. It's just a copyright non-infringing token.
I was like, what have you done to me?
She's wearing a deep purple gambesson, which is like the padded cloth garment that goes under a suit of armor. And her legs are both dissolved below the knee.
Dissolved.
There's like a a sticky clear goo like covering the floor. She's got like a sort of a grimace on her face. It's not pleasant, but the most relevant piece of information for the 11 of you is that there's a bright gold amulet draped around her neck. And the amulet is forged in the shape of an like a stylized eye symbol. Like EYE.
Babs will go grab that.
Lurch is like, I'm right
Now,
next to it.
Before we advance, let me hear a real quick introduction of who all of your characters are. Why don't we start with Babs?
Babs is a brewer by trade and now a wizard as an adventurer, and carries a barrel of ale with her on her back, as well as 2 cups, and likes to share and cheers with everyone because staying just at least slightly buzzed is kind of her jam. And
You mean share alcohol, right? Not gold and loot.
no, she doesn't like to share. She doesn't have any of that. What are you talking about?
Yeah, you don't happen to have the ring of Zutilla on you.
No, and especially there is not a compartment underneath the bottom of the ale barrel in which she can squirrel away whatever trinkets and gold and things that she might not want people to know that she has. That certainly would not be the case. Yeah, so that's Babs. Also, Scribbles is a character of mine who is a scribe, and a very good one, A+ student, probably the best scribe in the world, at least in this group. Definitely the best scribe in this group. And then there's also Henley, who is a chicken butcher, right? No, I think it's chicken butcher specifically, which you may not have known was a career, just to be the person who kills the chickens, not raises the chickens, not tends to the chickens, just kills them.
Also, not butchering other animals.
Yeah,
only
right.
chickens.
Only chickens.
And
so you're not
they
a
use-
chicken who butchers things, you butcher chickens.
Correct. Right.
And they use
that
they
would've
them
been pretty
pronouns,
good.
right?
Yes, Henley uses they them pronouns, and you might assume that someone who has Henley's very young as well, so someone who has been raised with this job of only killing chickens sometimes tends to be a little bit flighty, I would say, and maybe sometimes a little bit gremlin-y.
Just a little bit gremlin.
Yeah. Yeah. That's my characters.
Excellent.
Unreal.
And competing for the golden amulet, of course, we have Lurjwi, who is one of Jen's characters. Jen, would you care to introduce your trio?
Yeah, well, I can start with Lurjwi, who happens to be literally next to the corpse, so it's my first opportunity to finally get some loot. So Lurjwi is interested. Lurjwi was a jeweler by occupation, and decided that she had enough and it was time for a life of adventure. So she sold her most precious jewel and bought the most pristine things she could find to go out adventuring. So she has a pristine polearm, an unused very new dagger, a recently padded leather armor. It is very obvious she has never been out to battle. And yet she is the best equipped out of the whole group.
Naturally.
Yeah.
She looks like a cosplayer. Lurjwi, incidentally, is also one of the 2 characters who is currently carrying a torch.
Yes. Yes, she does. Well, she has all the things. Flint and steel, chalk, torch, dagger, mule, Chattanooga back at home. She has everything. Rations, you're hungry, she got it.
And what about Beskri and Strage?
Yes, Beskri is basically an A scribe, so not A+, just A. So her whole life she's done really well until she met freaking what's her name? Your
Scribbles?
character. Scribbles.
Right.
Scribbles is the bane of her existence. She slightly admires Scribbles, but also kind of hates Scribbles. So she always tries to pick up the notes, but the notes are always better and faster taken by Scribbles. So that's her life now. She's kind of miserable. Yeah, she's usually excited, but her excitement has been slowly fading away. And Stretch today, last but not least, most important character of my whole crew. He is a wizard jester from the Dudet lineage. He is a Froge. He is extremely important. He has survived some crazy adventures, did some pretty good jobs with just darts, and now he's a wizard, so he has some pretty cool spells, which saved us last episode, arguably, with the spider climb tactics that let us get rid of Edwina, who died to the crocodiles that could have killed us. So, and he's our potential noble. He might be our noble, so I care about him very much.
Awesome. On the far side of the room, next to Strej, we see Dee and Kate. Kate being the other character who's currently carrying a torch. Neal, would you care to introduce?
Yes, Dee is not the strongest of all the characters, but she does carry the most stuff. Her backpack is laden with a great number of goods, perhaps picked up off of our own dead fallen comrades along the way. Who can really remember? It's been a couple of months. She has a two-handed sword that she wields that she picked up in the streets of a city, which did incur a small fight with some gangster-type people.
The Chunder Bros.
Yes. Dee is a squire, but she is still 0th level, so doesn't have much going for her, aside from the growing collection of coins and gear that hauls around her with her everywhere. Kate is our torchbearer, who has pretty much nothing else except for a spell book that she's pretty sure everyone's forgotten about, and it's got 3 spells in it. And she's been toting this around, waiting for the right opportunity to either just hold on to it or to leverage this for some sort of gain somewhere in the world. She is a gardener by trade and slowly learning that there are many seeds that can be planted, not just, the ones that bear fruit. That's not the greatest analogy I'm looking for, though. Because these are supposed to be bearing fruit, but not just seeds that can be eaten.
Maybe we'll find out what kind of seeds don't bear fruit in this episode.
Oh, no.
Rachel, how about Agnes, Evie, Fiona, and the tiny miniature person?
The tiny miniature person. Well, let's go backwards in interest here. First, we have Evie. Evie is not very interesting. She's a little shy. She hangs to the back of the group. She may have hailed from a noble family that didn't give her a whole lot of experience or attention now that she's out in the world, but she's got a lot of great examples to follow. Then we have Fiona the Furnace. Fiona is a forester, which at level 0 doesn't mean a whole lot, except that she's got some forest skills, mainly about just finding certain herbs and certain mushrooms. She's got a passion for very few things. But she does have a growing fondness for Henley. She loves them. She takes care of them. She was very worried when they got poisoned by the leech, and so she stuck around to make sure that Henley was okay. So they got a little bit of a bond, and I think she went after the great white tadpole mainly so no one would bite Henley ever again. And then we have Agnes, who is an old and crotchety wizard who does not want to get involved in the fight, so much so she's actually summoned herself a familiar, and that familiar is Senga, who is a tinier, older, crotchetier version of Agnes, who rides around on Jägermeister.
An elk, in fact, not a moose.
Jägermeister is also a valid name. Just throwing it out there if we happen to have a moose.
So we've got a moss elk and a liquor moose. Jägermeister and Jägermeister. Excellent. Now, Jägermeister being mind controlled by Babs, charmed by Babs, is still hanging out in the swamps outside and did not venture into the dangerous. Or I think the elk and the horses did venture into the dangerous caverns, but then when the crocodiles attacked, they all, in a fit of self-preservation, galloped back out of the caverns. And those of you who are attuned to the creatures that you have mentally dominated, aka Babs, can tell that Jägermeister is drunkenly wandering around the swamp up above, finding lily pads to chomp. Doing very well for himself.
As long as he's happy,
I think we decorated the horse to be like Jägermeister.
Yeah, you like slapped mud all over something so that Strej could hide from the agents of the Overlord who were outside of Frogomance. So here the 11 of you stand inside this rotten meat-smelling chamber. There's a door in the northwest corner of the room, and in the southeast corner, of course, is this poor, wretched, slain woman who has a gold amulet around her neck. Talk to me.
Well,
I take the amulet.
Well, I also tried to take the amulet because I'm closer, and I'm realizing that we bring nothing back in my group.
All right, let's see. Lurjwi.
Just as they step in, Senga takes 2 steps back.
Dee doesn't go for the amulet, but she does like level her sword at the corpse just in case it moves.
Got it. Cool. We got a little bit of prep happening, a little bit of amulet fighting happening. Excellent. Let's see. Oh yeah, I think that Babs, you step forwards ready to snatch this amulet, but being as how you are perennially drunk, Lurjwi actually grabs it first, snatches it off of the neck. I'm making this judgment based off of your relative lucks. Lurjwi having a level 10, Babs a mediocre 7.
That's fair.
So it is Lurjwi who grabs it first, and fortunately, nothing terrible happens as a consequence.
I knew that could happen, and she had 1 HP. I was like, let's just give that a shot.
At least not yet. So, yes, Lurjwi, go ahead and mark down in your character sheet that you have a gold amulet with an eye symbol on it. And we actually have I have a little record of treasure from this adventure, and I will add the eye symbol amulet on that as well.
So this has been done in front of everyone. So I just take it and then I look at everyone and I'm like,
everyone else is like, "Aw."
Babs plays it off like she wasn't trying to take that at all. Like, what? Oh yeah, sure, of course.
And then I say trying to break the awkwardness and I'll just hold on to it for now. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
And Fiona and Evie are like, go ahead. Yeah. The corpse again that you took it off. Is it that it has no legs, or that the legs have melted into a clear gelatin?
Yeah.
Yeah. So below the knee, the legs just sort of melt down into a goo, and then there's a clear jelly, sort of just a quarter-inch thick over the floor for 8 feet. Something like that. So it seems, and I think if one of you takes a stick or something, or there's this slab of rotten meat hanging from the meat hook, right? And if you dip it in the goo, it just there's a sizzling sound as the sort of starts melting down. Yeah.
Do we see any tracks or anything? Maybe this is some animal venom, or do we see any other clues around?
Yeah, you do see sort of a pinkish, clearish smear near the door in the northwest corner of the room.
I point that out to everyone.
And who is doing this evaluation, by the way?
Which evaluation?
Who is examining for this evidence? Scribbles.
Can I also have Lurjwi contribute? Because I think, having looked at grab the amulet, she would have wanted to get involved. But then she sees Scribbles coming up and she's like, oh, great. Come, make your observations, takes note. This is exactly what we needed. Some record keeping is always needed. And then you have Bestry at the end.
Yeah. So we've established prior to now that Scribbles is excellent at taking notes and not noting down the details of the environment. So I think fairly quickly Scribbles can identify that there's a smear of brown in the shape of a foot, sort of next to the pit in the center of the room, as if someone wearing leather boots had stepped in this dissolving fluid and left a thin layer of their boot plastered to the ground instead of sticking on the boot intact.
And it looks like someone has gone into the hole, or?
No, it's that there's like a drag mark next to the door, and then there's this smeared boot print, sort of like walking down to the south of the pit. It seems clear that this body was placed here by another person.
Gotcha. So,
Yeah.
and Scribbles lets everyone know, like, there may be someone still here.
How dead does this body look?
Yeah, that's what Fiona's
How
gonna
dead?
poke around to find out.
Are you trying to like perform medical checks to see if this person is alive, or are you like looking at it and being like,
Just looking, just observing from standing
How
above.
old
Is it like, is it like
corpse?
desiccated or freshly murdered, or is there like a
Puffy.
head
So,
missing?
it looks the body is not rotted and it's not desiccated, so it's a fairly
Pretty
recent
fresh.
death. It is after the period of rigor mortis. And I do feel like peasants in this world are familiar with like the process of death, how like, fairly quickly after death, rigor mortis sets in, and then some hours after that relaxes. So, the body is limp. There's no movement to the chest. But yeah, it was a recent death. This body hasn't yet started to rot.
Dee will look to the person to her side and say, "Poke it."
Oh, Fiona is on it. Fiona has, I don't know, some stick or some arm bone from something else, and she's poking the eyes. She's taking the things off her.
Is it cold? Is the body cold?
Yes. Yep.
I have a question. Does it look like the amulet fits with the body, or does it seem out of place? Like, does it look like somebody who could own such a thing, or does it look like it might have been placed?
Sure.
I was like, that's a decent question.
It's a good question.
Lurgui is a jeweler.
Yes, Lurgui grabbed the amulet and is a jeweler.
Okay.
I totally thought of that when I made that move.
Nobody else knows this, Lurgui, but you do. This amulet is a specific amulet which a certain type of person always has, and nobody else ever does. This is the amulet of an agent of the Overlord.
Uh-oh.
And so, like, that's really all Lurgui knows. Lurgui is not accustomed to examining the accoutrement of corpses. And so Lurgui can't really identify whether or not this amulet fits on the body here, but just to remind
fair.
you, like this woman's biceps are truly impressive. And her hands are very obviously calloused. She has short cropped hair, and she's wearing a deep purple gambeson, which again, you all know is the cloth garment that it goes under a suit of armor.
Okay, so it looks kind of probable. I will tell the others, by the look of this amulet, which I am inspecting here as a jeweler, so it makes sense I grabbed it. I totally thought of that. It is an amulet of an agent of the Overlord. I can confirm that. Does she look like an agent of the Overlord to you guys? Because I never get dealings with them, as a clean, good practicing jeweler. I don't see why they'd come talk to me. I turned to like a more seedy looking party member.
Didn't we run into some agents of the Overlord that were looking for the scroll that we're looking for? A bunch of pompous knights on horseback that we had to hide from?
Yes.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Were they wearing the purple thing?
Does this look like one of her? I ask the group and try to remember. Does she look familiar from that party?
It was dark out, right? Because you're hiding.
None of you
Forest Edge?
recognize this woman.
It seems that the Overlord's agents have gotten here faster than we have, somehow.
Now, I have a question about the clear pool of liquid. Does it look like it is the corpse is the source of the liquid and it has pooled 8 feet in each direction from it? Or
Who is trying to evaluate this? Right.
this is Fiona is like just sciencing out the situation as far as like what's natural and not.
I think as a forester, all Fiona knows is that this is some bullshit.
But like, you can tell when something is the source of water. Is it? Or is this like all over the ground and then this corpse is like plopped in it? Okay, different question. Is the corpse central to the liquid pool?
No, the corpse is like leaning up against the wall, and the liquid pool is like around the lower legs, and then like drifting 8 feet to the west, right? So, sort of like Fiona is kind of standing at the edge of this pool. It's really hard to say. Fiona can't really identify whether this is like being generated by the body or was like here before, or like what's the relationship between body and like dissolving liquid. Really hard to say.
Fiona is actually going to look for kind of like anything around and just start chucking it into the puddle to see what does and doesn't react. Like, is it like shoe leather and organic stuff? Is it rocks?
Yeah. So the meat from the meat hook dissolves fairly quickly. The like you pull one of the meat hooks and like the chain and like unlet the winch so that you can get that and toss it into the puddle. No reaction. The metal doesn't corrode. It doesn't dissolve. You find like a piece of stone like chipped from the floor here. This is all like raw but wrought stone that this chamber is built out of. So you find some chip of it and toss it in, and like all of the stone that the liquid is resting on, there's no consequence.
2 more. Organic plant matter. I'm gonna throw some dried herb in there.
Yeah. You toss some dried herbs in there, and they very quickly shred down into like a green goo.
And then some water, and I'm gonna try and like splash it back.
Okay. You pour a little water in there, and I think it just makes the gel more liquidy.
All right. Fiona looks up at the group and declares, "This stuff's gross. Don't touch it." She's a scientist.
Wow. Babs backs away from it, taking Fiona's word as science. Henley will kind of tug on Fiona and be like, "Why are we waiting?" And point to the door. "We should leave."
The body's like leaned up on the door?
No, the door is
it's just in a corner.
Yeah, door is in the northwest corner up over here. Body is in the southeast corner over here. Opposite corner.
Fiona's down to take Henley's advice, but before she does, she just wants to like use whatever she can stick-wise to hook the body and just like jerk it away from the position it's in to see if it's covering any grate or got anything else.
Yeah, cool. You pull the body to the side, and I think you do discover one item, which is a coil of rope and an iron grappling hook, sort of like attached to the belt behind this body. The rope, of course, like a link. The rope, of course, is thoroughly degraded by exposure to this silver goo, clear goo, but the iron grappling hook is fine.
No, yeah, Fiona's just got a hook. Yeah,
cool.
Shows Henley.
Go ahead and mark it in your character sheet that you have an iron grappling hook. Now, just as a point of order, we should remember that there is actually encumbrance that we're using in this game. So take note of how many items that you're carrying. You can only carry a number of significant items equal to your strength score. And then there's also something else about gold, jewelry, gems, and other small valuables like that. They can all go into one bag, which counts as one item, and that bag can carry up to a count of 100 in it.
I'm not sure I get it, sorry. So
for example,
Large has a strength of 13, which is a modifier of 1. Does she mean she's been carrying all this stuff and can't?
No. It means that Lurgui can carry 13 unique items.
Ah, okay, because I thought 1 and I was like, I'm screwed. Okay.
Not the modifier, the actual score. So let's see. Lurgui, as an excellent example, has a dagger, a polearm, a mirror, chalk, flint and steel. She's got 4 rations, which will count as one item, a torch, And now a gold amulet with an eye symbol. She's carrying 8 out of 13 possible items. And
all good.
And she's also got a pouch which has 10 gold pieces in it. So that's
9 out of 13.
And you've got recently padded leather armor. So that's 10 items. You have space for 3 more items.
Okay.
And up to 90 more gold coins can go into your pouch. But then you're going to have to add another pouch for another up to 100
makes
gold.
sense. All right, cool.
Yep. So I'm not going to be I'm not going to be a stickler about this, but if you start being like, oh, I've got these 83 items on my character sheet, I'm going to be like, wait a minute. Wait. So, what now?
And I checked that against strength. I'm sorry.
Yes, your strength
Yeah,
score.
it's your strength, but not the modifier.
Perfect.
So Fiona the Furnace, as an example, she's got a strength score of 11. So big walking stick, herbs, flint and steel, and iron grappling hook. 4 items, handily fits. Oh, and some of her coinage handily fits into her 11
Nice.
carrying capacity.
Oh, sorry. And one other question
like
while
this.
looking at my stats. Agnes took a hit. She burned some of her ability points. Do I, at this point, add 1 back to one of them?
No, that only happens
No,
when you
okay.
get a restful night of sleep.
Got it. That has not
Haven't
happened.
got. And that's what? Is it that her agility is burned low, or?
I burned her strength and her agility. So she's got 1, 2, 3, 4 items plus a chisel and a sword. I guess she'd have to hand something off.
I was looking at the wrong character sheet. Yeah, so I see you've got 5 out of 10 strength, 8 out of 11 agility, 6 out of 10 stamina. Yeah, cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Stretch needs to hand stuff over, especially because right now I'm at 6 strength out of 9.
Yeah, so you've got your last and favorite dart, I see.
Yeah, I'm not gonna
hammer.
I'm gonna hand over a hammer, I think.
Silk clothes, mirror, water skin. You're only carrying 5 items that I see right here.
No, but I also have 2 magical books, 1 scepter, and a slightly drank 777 bottle of wine.
Okay. Yep, I do see that you will have to redistribute some of your
Yeah,
items.
I might send some over too. I don't know, one of them.
Cool. Feel free to redistribute among your own characters. It's no problem.
So my cat never sits in my lap and he's here right now.
So I
Stop
see
everything.
that I see that Kate is over here and Dee is over here next to the door, along with Scribbles.
Mm-hmm.
What's the plan?
Well, the plan is to wait for everyone to get their act together. And then you said there was like slimy stuff coming from under the door. We want to make sure that's not acid and we don't burn our own boot leathers in walking in it. So some, tap tests with the toe. Make sure that it's not going to kill us if we walk in this thing. How's it look?
So it like sort of like there's a little bit of slime next to the door, but it's easily avoidable.
Okay. Cool.
Yep.
Well, Kate will say to the party, we already have lights lit, so if the next room over is dark, they should be able to see the light from this room. Maybe we can put the torches in the corner and see if there's light coming from under the door so we know if there's anything in there. And we'll walk her own torch off to a corner while Dee gets low to the ground and tries to peer under the door frame or through a crack on the side and see if the room beyond is well lit or not.
Yeah. So as you sort of bring the light further away so that you can see into the next room, it becomes clear that the next room is dark. There's no light coming from under the door.
Dee will gleefully announce to the party with 3 out of 5 hit points, "It's fine, everybody," and opens the door.
Nice. Let's see. I've got some. What do I have to do here? Let's go to the dynamic lighting layer. Let's move Bab's character sheet so that I can do that. And then, oh no. Delete that and delete that. Nice. And now, if I'm not mistaken, you should be able to see into the next room.
Yes, I see red.
Excellent. Yeah, so as soon as you open the door, you can see 2 things. One, there's a trail of red that leads sort of winding its way through this room, avoiding and weaving between and around a large, dense collection of tables covered with vials, phials, filters, alembics, retorts, Bunsen burners, glass tubings, jars filled with formaldehyde preserved specimens, etc. This room looks to be a veritable janitor's closet of alchemistry.
Ooh. Dee says as she walks around touching stuff.
Now, Dee, if you're interested in this sort of thing, it does seem as though one should be able to find some kind of useful alchemical concoction in here amongst all of these collections of vials and filters and whatnot. Though, without knowing what they are, handling the various items you might acquire may present some danger.
Dee's no dummy. She knows that she's a squire and not the best for this one. So she will skip back to the door and ask other people to come take a look. Who knows alchemy? Chicken butcher. That's the same thing as alchemy, right? What does this do?
Henley's just like glaring from behind Fiona, shaking their head.
No.
But Scribbles is consulting notes. Can Scribbles find any notes she may have taken?
Also consults notes, seeing.
Scribbles consults her notes a little faster and more thoroughly.
It is the case, but we don't know what's in the notes and what our life experiences are.
So Scribbles is trying to consult her notes and see if she has taken notes previously about alchemical stuff.
Yeah, like if there's any notes that say like, there's this one chemical that maybe she's looking to see if she's ever seen anything that dissolves things so fast and what that chemical is made of, like what the ingredients are, or maybe looking also if there's any of these compounds that are used to make like a health potion or useful as medicine.
Yeah, okay. So awesome. I love this. So just for the audience at home, Dungeon Crawl Classics doesn't have a list of skills. And generally, players, instead of rolling a perception check, they would just ask questions about a space, but each player can pull on their profession's knowledge to sort of like argue in favor of a dice roll relevant to whatever situation might be happening. So I think that Scribbles, being a scribe, may have at some point in time encountered some alchemical information. This is going to be challenging. So it's just going to be a flat D20 roll, and it's going to be target number of 15 plus. Hey, check it out. Absolutely. Okay, so Scribbles knows two things. Well, Scribbles knows one thing immediately and then one possible future thing. One, yes, there is an alchemical substance that is a strong acid. It's generally called aqua fortis in alchemical parlance. And it certainly could produce the effect that you're seeing. In the abstract, having this much of it, like a big 8-foot puddle of it, like that's pretty unusual. And I think you know from descriptions of it that aqua fortis is a thin, pourable liquid, not a gel. Mm-hmm. So as you're kind of like, what alchemical stuff could do this? You're like, well, aqua fortis could do this, but that doesn't really account for everything that you're seeing. But it's an insight that you gain. And two, you'd probably have a pretty good shot at identifying whatever possible useful substances that you might uncover in this room.
So, having consulted those notes, I think what Scribbles will continue to do is just like start checking the cabinets, like looking at the vials, looking at the substances, seeing if they're labeled, checking their viscosity, seeing if there are any that are either useful or could tell her how aqua fortis would have been mass produced and gelled.
Yeah. Go ahead and move Scribbles into the room so that we have her where she is. So doing this is going to take about 10 minutes of time. to really like look carefully through these and read labels and cross-reference through your notes. Are you comfortable spending that time?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Is anybody else helping?
Is this red all like a blood trail dragged all over, like a children's hospital kind of color theme?
Yeah, it looks like a blood trail. I know exactly the thing you're referencing.
Yeah. Fiona's gonna try to apply any of her forester tracking skills, anything to like what would have dragged this way. Like, is something alive and pumping blood to kind of leave this trail, or?
Yeah, so regarding the blood, there clearly was some weakly living creature that was leaving this blood trail behind them. The blood trail ends, Fiona, up over here in the northwest corner of the room. But it doesn't like end cleanly. Like the trail isn't like a contiguous trail. It's just that like it's clear that it came from up over here and then proceeded down towards the door and then up over into the northeast corner of the room and into the garbage disposal chamber next door. The only thing that's up in this corner of the room, Fiona, is, there's like a table with a bunch of alchemical supplies on it and, a Bunsen burner and stuff. And then on the left-hand wall, there's a large bookshelf that looks like it contains a number of like anatomical books. The first one that you see has the words on the spine are written, Anatomy of the Human.
Okay, so this would be that this is the beginning of the blood trail, and then we get the sense maybe as the blood trails off that they drag themselves into the other room.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay. She's gonna be like, "Hey, scribe, there's some books over here," and then she's gonna actually follow it back into the other room and make sure. Is this the woman that's dead in the corner?
I mean, you can't freely identify from the blood whether it is her blood, but you're putting together some clues in a way that makes an awful lot of sense.
Fiona's like that.
Yeah. So
when Scribbles hears like, "Oh, there's some books over here," Scribbles is busy with the chemicals and will motion to. I'm blanking on your scribe's name, Jen. Beskri. We'll motion to Beskri like, "You should go take care of. You should go check the books." Like, kind of delegating the books to Beskri.
Yes, I will do an excellent A+ job. I say as I go look at the books.
Nice. Go ahead and move your character over to the wall over here where I'm pinging Beskri. Yeah, nice. Okay, so Scribbles, please roll 1d3. 2. Now roll 1d7. 4. Okay. You find first a small vial the size of your thumb, halfway filled with a like the most fascinating liquid you've ever seen. It's just a pure liquid silver metal. And as you like roll it back and forth, it all just sort of like thonk, like flips side to side. Please roll. Let's see. I need to get your character sheet up here. Please roll a reflex saving throw.
Reflex saving throw. There it is.
Oh my God. You pick this up and you like flip it back and forth, and then there's a moment where we have this comedic, like you flip this vial up in the air about 3 or 4 times as you're trying to like catch it. You finally grab it with one hand, the cork pops out, you grab the cork, shove the cork back in the bottle.
And look around like, no one saw that?
You're fine. You've recovered this bottle with a silver liquid.
Great. And I can't identify it based on my knowledge or notes?
Let's tackle that next.
Okay.
So a bottle of silver fluid.
It sounds cooler when you said it's a vial of silver.
Sorry, my bad. It's a
Liquid.
vial. It's very odd.
It does sound
Bottles,
really
come
much
on.
cooler. Like we have bottles in our lives. Who has vials in
That's
their
a
lives?
really good point. Why don't we call
And
these
then
vials?
roll a second 1d7.
Roll D7. 7.
Okay. Please roll another reflex saving throw.
Uh-oh. Why am I so clumsy?
I don't know why you're so clumsy, actually.
Jeez. Get it together, Scribbles.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
man. Okay, my goodness.
2 does not bode well.
Actually, I shouldn't have just had you roll a reflex saving throw, actually. I should have asked you, like, okay, let's do this slightly differently.
Okay.
That reflex saving throw there. Oh, it's because your agility is 5. You're a trash fire of a human being in terms of like bodily coordination.
Hey, I have my strengths. Okay.
Your handwriting is great, and that's literally it.
Yeah.
You find tucked behind a couple of other vials, like sort of a wide-based potion bottle that has a screw cap, and there's a thin liquid in the bottom that is like a sparkly gold.
Ooh, that looks
What do
pretty.
you do?
Can I knowing that I tend to be clumsy, I will take extra care in moving other vials out of the way and bringing it closer to me on the shelf to inspect it.
Yeah.
And then lifting it out. Taking a look.
Okay, so first, roll 1d20. You're trying to roll a 10 or above, and this is to identify these 2 substances that you've discovered.
Woo!
Okay, 19, and then a second one.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
Okay, you've never seen nor heard of this scintillating gold liquid, but the silver in the vial you understand to be quicksilver.
Okay.
This is an alchemical substance. It is a contact poison.
Ooh.
It eats away at the target's strength and agility, as well as having various alchemical uses in like refining or strengthening various potions and things like that. This would sell at quite a fair price to someone who's interested in purchasing alchemicals.
Cool. And then I have the other one stowed away, but I just don't know what it is.
Yeah, let's address that momentarily.
I want to point out that one has a screw cap, which could not fall off.
It's true. The disaster befalling you will not involve the screw cap falling off.
You did specifically say that, so.
So yeah, tell me what you do with this bottle.
The gold one?
Yeah, you're like, so just to set the scene here, how tall is Scribbles?
I imagine that she's pretty short. Do I have like I think that's in the attributes, right?
Could be.
It's not. I imagine that Scribbles is like 5'2".
Sure. So, you know, you're standing at a table that's got like this towering stack of like, you know, glass columns and like multiple layers of like, you know, like there's like books stacked up that like support other like bottles that are stacked to make the base of some like board upon which is stacked additional things. So back behind all of these like formaldehyde jars, you spot this scintillating, glinting golden fluid in this like weird oblong-shaped jar, but it's like 6'8" above the ground. So you've found some step stool or something with like one leg that's shorter than the other two, and it's like rocking back and forth as you're like reaching up to try and grab this thing.
Okay.
What do you do?
This is so funny because this is like really relevant to Anna's life, where I tend to be fairly clumsy. Like I pick things up too fast and I move too fast. So when I'm in these situations, I do approach it with like as though I am treating myself as a 5-year-old, and I'm only allowed to touch one thing at a time with both hands and put it down before I pick up the next thing. Not saying that this is how, like, that's not how TTRPGs work, but I'm just saying this is really funny for me because I'm like, okay, I have to go into treat myself like a 5-year-old mode, but I don't know if Scribbles knows how to do that. So
Yeah.
Scribbles is trying to carefully, like, take her time, pulling a couple bottles out of the way, putting them somewhere else in this weird alchemical Jenga, and then trying to just take the bottle and kind of stow it away in a bag until she can figure out what it is.
All right, Scribbles.
Although I guess what because I can't identify what it is, but I'm assuming that I've identified it's of interest based on my notes.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
There's like a bunch of vials that are just filled with like sludge, or like here's like, you know, some like desiccated eyeball or something like that. And then like in amongst all of these jars, there's like a number of collections that are like little, like they have active fluids that you recognize from some description of the alchemy stuff that you've read or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you rolled a 2 on your reflex save. So you're reaching up, you know, way above your head to grab this thing, and you grab it and you pull it towards you, and then like you nudge one of the formaldehyde jars, and it slips off of the ledge and it falls onto the floor and it shatters. And like this putrid smell of formaldehyde fills the room, and you like slip to one side as you're like, did I drop this like fancy vial that contains this really cool gold liquid? I don't know. No, okay, we're good. The stool wobbles, it slips out from under you on the formaldehyde slicked floor. You fall like straight on your tailbone, which is first very painful. Owie. And then second, like it's like that scene in Lord of the Rings when Frodo is like slipping off the thing and like the ring goes flying up. This golden, this like portly jar of golden liquid just goes flying off the heel of your hand, flying straight up in the air.
Someone tried to catch it?
I was gonna say, if I'm falling, Scribble's impulse would be throw this bottle so that it doesn't fall on me because I don't know what chemical is in it. So I would say not only flies out of my hand, but is flung as I'm falling.
So I'll allow it, but only on the condition that you choose a target. Because you've rolled really poorly. This liquid is going on someone. It's okay if it's not you, but it has to be someone.
Okay.
We can roll for it if you'd rather just like roll for it. We can do that, but someone's getting hit.
I want to choose a target because I think that's funny.
Awesome.
In which room are you?
She's here in this room.
The second room.
I feel like she couldn't target the people from the other room.
Correct. I agree.
I feel like D's too far away.
That's trash.
You would be surprised.
I think it'd be funny to choose a target, but in reality, the reaction I'm imagining is just a like, fling it away from me. So I think rolling randomly for whatever direction Scribbles ended up flinging it.
I think we'll roll randomly for whom gets hit.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see.
I thought you sent it to best crew. I was like, that makes sense.
So from top to bottom of the room, from left to right, Evie is 1, Henley is 2, Beskri is 3, Scribbles is 4, Agnes is 5, Kate is 6, D is 7.
Okay.
So please, Scribbles, roll 1d7. 5.
That was
1,
almost
2, 3,
me.
4. It was almost you, which is great. It's Agnes. Which is better.
Is Agnes athletic enough to catch it? That's the question.
I'll give Agnes a reflex saving throw. Yeah.
Well, and here's what I ask you, Stephen: is Senga protective enough to leap into action here? Because Agnes is watching, but
what would Senga do?
Well, here's what I'm imagining. Agnes is a wizard, and she's studious, and so she's kind of watching to see what happens with each of these guys. But Senga is watching Agnes and the rest of the world because she has to protect.
Yes, guardian familiar. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I'm seeing some sort of like tiny Danny DeVito like in front of a bullet moment.
Oh.
When she's kind of feral, maybe she's catching it in her mouth. Maybe she's tackling it out of the air.
Here's my judgment on that. I'm going to be nice to you.
You could say no. No is fine.
I'm going to be nice to you and say that Senga cannot intervene.
Oh.
Okay, thank you. That's even better.
Because I see Senga as still in the other room.
Good. There we go. Senga, you're not doing your job.
Agnes, this glass, like you're looking with Beskri at these books, and all of a sudden you just feel this glass just like splash on you. You feel a searing pain across the body part.
What about the reflex save?
Oh yeah, okay, right, okay, yes, we have a reflex save. So Agnes, roll a reflex saving throw, DC 10.
This is your moment.
There's a button on your sheet that says ref.
Upper right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh.
Good try.
Agnes, please roll 1d4. 1 and 2 are your right and left arm. 3 and 4 are your right and left leg.
So you feel a searing pain.
So you feel a searing pain on your right leg as this glass shatters. When you look down, your leg from the knee down has detached. You no longer have a leg because there is a calf and foot sitting on the ground made of solid gold.
Like it is separated from me?
Yes. Also, you're bleeding. Also, you've taken 1d4 damage.
Solid gold, you say?
You take 3 damage from this, Agnes.
Oh, okay, sorry. What?
And and your leg detaches and is lying there on the ground in a state of solid gold.
Solid gold is a key word here, though. I feel like it's yours, so I won't go for it.
Agnes,
all right, first of all, yes, it is mine.
If it's any consolation, your calf and foot in solid gold are worth probably 750 gold coins.
I love that you think that would console me. I want to say you're right, because Agnes is screaming like as a reaction in the moment, but she's already like, and then blood, and I could tourniquet, and then yeah.
She's
but
like screaming of pain and then screaming of like, I want $1 million. It's like both are combined. I'm not sure.
Just like a general shocked vibrato.
But Prince in chat comments, at least she can level up from the gold, lol.
Oh.
Would you trade an arm and a leg, or just a leg?
Just a leg for 1 level. There you go.
Well, she's screaming too, though. She's going to take the rest of the leg and kind of slam it up onto the table and be like, ah! You got to get it elevated, I know. Not much of a doctor. She's doing kind of basic stuff. But if anyone has medical training, feel free to step in.
Amazing. With that panicked circumstance, as Beskri turns away from the books that she's been evaluating, we will go to a 5-minute break. And when we come back, we will learn what Beskri has learned from examining the bookshelf.